This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hello, Alex.
Good morning. I think it's morning. It's morning here anyway.
Afternoon here.
Good. Okay. Good afternoon.
And we have a special guest today, Leonie Mitchell. Hi, welcome, Leonie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So, Alex, what are we talking about today?
I believe it is marketing measurements.
Yes,
So I'd start off with a statistic.
go for it.
Okay, cool. So the question is, so this was a survey done by Marketing Week, and the question is there analysis in place in your business for measuring creative effectiveness? So effectiveness. And okay, hazard a guess. This is a survey of, I think it was the 2,000 businesses. What do you think? What percentage do you think people said yes? We have marketing measurement tools in place.
30%.
Oh, you're optimistic. Leonie said 30. I'm going 10.
Wow, I don't know what side of bed you guys woke up on this morning, but obviously the pessimistic side. I was actually surprised by this statistic.
They all lied.
Maybe I was being completely optimistic, but apparently 58% of marketers say that yes, they do have tools in place, and 33% said no, and 8.5% say I don't know.
Ooh.
And the 58% lied. So,
Yeah.
because it's the answer you're supposed to give. This is one of the dangers. We discussed this in our research episode, right? One of the dangers of asking a question is people answer the way they think they're supposed to answer to not look bad. So I think this is one of those questions, because what kind of marketer wants to say, yes, I don't measure any of my marketing? You don't want to publicly say that.
Yeah, I would say though that perhaps it's a biased survey because they
Yeah,
ask marketers.
that's true. And marketers are going to say yes. If they'd
Yeah,
ask business owners,
if you ask business owners, it might be different, and also because not every business has a marketing person in the business. So if you ask a marketer, it means the business has a marketing team or a marketing person, then you'd hope, just as a 101, they have Google Analytics.
Yeah. And maybe most is marketeers from agencies anyway, so they measure everything.
that's true. That's true. Agencies are a different ballgame because they have to show value to their clients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my experience with quite a lot of businesses over the years has been it's no. Businesses I've joined from scratch, just haven't even had the basics in. I had a conversation last week about tracking LinkedIn activity, right? Especially if you're paying for Sales Navigator or, you're actually paying. How do you track the effectiveness of that spend, the ROI of that? And yes, you get the LinkedIn stats, impressions, views, likes, all of that. But actually, you need to track the conversions in terms of how much revenue actually came from those interactions, or else, likes are nice, but actually, did it convert? And I get most of my likes and comments on pictures of dogs. Does it bring me lots of business? I don't think so.
It's just the clickbait of the dog. They just like the dog.
Dogs and babies, right? The winner.
Always.
So you guys recently went to an event,
We did.
which when we think of marketing measurements, I think a lot of people just think about, online measurements from Google Analytics, emails, etc. What were the key measurements for you guys at an event? Because I think that's also one that might fly under the radar a little bit in terms of measurements, especially because maybe a lot of people who go there are from different departments in the business and not necessarily from a marketing background. So just wondering what your thoughts were on the events and how you measure those.
What do you think, Leonie?
That's interesting because for those events, it was about leads. You want leads, not just any leads, insurers. And in these events, the best way to do it, if you pay for the full package, it costs a fortune, you'll get your leads. But if it's on electronic leads, it doesn't quite work well. So this is an insurance event and very old school, talking to people face to face works. And that's what we did. They talk to people, had a Lego stand there to break the ice, start conversation. People remember you, take pictures. Says, I'll contact you. Yeah, do contact me. So it's all about the leads. It's not traditional marketing. It's very old school, but in that industry it works.
So it's more about, so you're trying to find the qualified leads, because obviously you get a lot of conversations where someone says, I'm interesting, but maybe they were just interested in the Lego and then they leave, so they say, I'm interested. So what's the best way of collecting those leads and qualifying those leads?
Well, it was quite, because it had a name tag that tied the company I worked for, you kind of knew if it was an insurance company or if it were an agency or startups, that helped. Now at this particular event, if we paid thousands of pounds to get the leads and just scan their badges, job done. But that wasn't the case. So we just took their business cards, took a picture of their tags, just had a great conversation with them. And then it's in the filtering job, going back to the office, typing out the list was quite long and boring. Doing research on LinkedIn to find out who they are, checking their website, make sure it's the same person website that exists. And then the next job is then to segment that list, to target them, do communication styles. It's slow, not ideal, because it needs to be quicker, so leads don't go cold. But then again, these are actually good warm leads because you've spoken to them, so they'll help when you actually contact them. But the question is, will it work? Will we send the emails out? What will the turnaround be like? Will we get responses? Will people subscribe? That's the biggest test.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fear that we have, I guess, across all elements of marketing. Once you build a list, is my list going to work? It always depends on then the content that you provide going forward from then, really. So I guess there's different ways of capturing them in the event, depending on what mechanisms you have available to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's exactly the same, as you say, Alex, with any marketing channel. Let's talk about websites, right? A lot of people have websites. What is the success criteria of a website? Is it visits, unique visits? Do you use all your Google Analytics tools to track? But all of that is, non-financial. You need to get through to how many signed up to your subscribe page, how many actually bought if you've got online purchase, or even if you've got offline purchase, right? How many of those website visitors actually paid you money is the real metric conversion. Whilst the website is just pretty.
Well, so I'm obviously on a bit of a statistic mission today, so I've got another one for that aligns with that kind of. So again, so the question is, what is your interpretation of the term marketing effectiveness? So basically, did it work or did it not? And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 responses available, and the over half.
Wait, first share with us the 5. Let us choose.
Okay, so the first one is the success of marketing communication campaigns is according to your short-term objectives, to the actual campaign. The second one is the return of marketing investment earned, so your ROI. The third one is the delivery of your business objectives. The fourth one is how successful a marketing campaign has been in strengthening brand equity. So I guess that's like brand recall surveys. And then the last one is the success of a company's go-to-market strategy.
See,
I know which one to go for straight away.
which
But
one would you choose? Would you choose one?
what I would say ultimately was well, this is because I'm coming from my direct response background, so
Mm,
I'm probably a bit swayed from that, but I would go for the ROI.
yeah.
Yeah,
Leonie?
I was going to say ROI.
It's interesting because for me, the answer is it depends. Because for
Ooh.
every marketing campaign, you have an objective. If even being at an event, your objective is to raise brand awareness, right? If you're going there going, we're here to raise brand awareness, then that is your measurement, right? If you're there to say we're going to get leads, then that is your measurement. Every marketing campaign has an objective. So I don't think it's a blanket answer for me. For me,
Mm.
is it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're a startup and you're trying to break into a well-established market, you may need to get brand awareness first so that people see you as a contender. And you may need to get the brand awareness before the leads start coming. Because why would anyone come to a company they don't like, know, like, or trust, right? So
Well,
for me, it depends.
I think the answer depends that you give is actually the answer to the first one, and it's according to the marketing campaign objectives, because they change, because the other ones are like just set
In stone.
in stone for your business, but the first one is what you're saying is the depends on what your objectives are for that particular campaign.
Cool. Okay. Then I choose A. Right. What was the answer? What did everyone else say?
Okay, so the over half of 51.9% agreed with you, Erica. And then 40% agreed with Leonie and I, or me and Leonie. And then third was business objectives. And then fourth was brand awareness. And then the last one was aligning with the company's go-to-market strategy.
No. But it's a difficult one because each of the person who answered was in their own space. So
Yeah.
if they were in a brand position, right, if their job was brand, they would have gone for brand. If their job was direct response, they would have gone for ROI. Like, depends on where they sat. I don't know. I think it's a hard question. I am a believer in ROI and I do push ROI on every campaign. But I am also very aware that there are times when you have to do the pre-steps, and the pre-step is raise your brand. If you've just started out, but you want to be up against big players, so if you've got a new soft drink and you want to go up against Coca-Cola and Pepsi, hey, you're gonna have to work really hard first, right? To get in even in the game.
And you're going to need very pockets.
You're gonna need a lot of money. But if that's the direction of the company, if that's the way you want to go, then you need to play completely differently. Maybe come up with a better Christmas campaign than Coca-Cola does, or like you need to think strategically about, right, how do we break through the ceiling to achieve? But yeah, I'm a big fan of ROI always.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong indicator because why are you in business? You're in business to, well, I mean, among other things, to make money.
Yeah, no, that's why.
If you're running a lot
Yeah.
on everything you're doing, it doesn't make sense.
And absolutely. And if you are running a loss-making campaign, because that does happen, whether it's an event, a particular event, or a brand building, but as long as you're aware, right? As
Yeah.
long as you've got your measurements down, we expect to spend X and we know we're not going to make it back, right? Like everyone's aware. Then that's okay. But you need to go in with your eyes open. If you're going in thinking you're going to make money, but your messaging is brand, then there's a
Yeah.
disconnect. That's where the problems happen, right? Is if people go, oh, we're going to get thousands of sales from this, whatever, but your message isn't strong enough. It's not a direct response message. Your audience isn't in the buying mode. All those things haven't lined up. It's not going to happen. There's nothing you could do. And that's also why websites are interesting. A lot of people think you should get sales off a website. I meet actually a lot of business owners who are like, oh, my website doesn't work. I don't get sales. What are your thoughts, Alex? You're kind of our website guru on this call. Should websites drive sales?
I'm gonna take your word. I'm gonna say it depends.
I was going to say depends.
It really depends, and because sometimes your website is not your vehicle for leads. So
Mm.
if you take like a consultancy firm, for example, a lot of the business is made through connections, personal connections, and maybe your vehicle for new businesses through LinkedIn, and your website is more of a vehicle for additional information, maybe just a platform to hold some of your case studies if you want to send anyone for some further information, but actually maybe your lead generation is from a different source. So it really depends on, and yeah, so it depends on what your service or your product is personally.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking of online shopping. What
Yeah.
website you're going to purchase? It's fashion, food. It has to work.
Yeah.
Right.
But the question I would then have also is, what is your activity driving people to that website? So having a website is fine, but then you need the pre-work. You got to drive people to the website. How are you making that visible? How are you driving people there? Are you doing pay-per-click? Like, you got to get people to the website. Just having a website is not going to make everyone magically appear and start buying from you.
Which is a surprisingly common thought, by the way.
It is, right?
Yeah, I've just built a new website, but it's crap. It's absolutely crap because no one's coming to my website and buying from me. Well, what else have you done? What do you mean, what else have I done? I just made a website and it looks really nice. And I launched it. How do you launch it? Well, I just, did all the domain stuff and made it go live. Did you tell anyone about it? No.
It's so common, Alex. It's crazy, right? You're like, no, you actually have to drive people there, right? Whether it's through paid campaigns or organic or whatever you're doing, but people have to go there. But so often people are like, oh, I have a website. Why is it not making sales?
No, exactly.
Well,
Where's your ads? Where are you advertising this?
and even if you are you driving the right people? Because you could be attracting the complete. We've had that when we worked together at AIG, Leonie, where we were attracting people in hospital. Remember our hospital cash plan?
Yeah.
Our messaging was attracting people in hospital who couldn't buy, because we don't want you if you're in hospital. We want you before you get to hospital. So we had lots of visitors, but very few sales. And when we drilled down, it's because we were attracting the wrong audience with our message, right? We had to change the message. So it's really, there's a lot of work, and this is all measurements and metrics, right? You need to think right through the funnel, every step of the way, to get to your result. It's not arrive and everything will miraculously appear.
And what type of content do you think is the most powerful for driving leads or ROI or converting visits to leads and leads to sales? Guess what? Obviously, you can guess I've got a little statistic hiding in the background.
Well, I'm guessing because they're financially hard right now, people can get kind of discounts.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So promotions.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with stories, just because I really believe people hook onto stories, and it resonates. Tell us the answer, Alex.
Well, it's more about the format rather than the
Oh,
style. But I'll go through this with you anyway. So I'd say the options are podcast, blog post, video, short form videos, images, case studies, and that's it. Those 5.
oh, okay. Which one of those, Leonie?
I'll go for blogs.
Blogs. I'm going to go for case studies.
Okay. Well, I guess it's maybe an industry bias. But so 31% say short form videos work the best for them, followed by images, followed by blog posts, followed by case studies, followed by podcasts.
Ah.
Short form videos. It must be an industry bias. We've all got
I
it
mean,
in.
short videos are the thing that is absolutely everywhere, wherever you go, whatever platform you're on, LinkedIn, um, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you're just inundated with short form videos. So I guess it's the in fashion thing because we're becoming more and more of a bite-sized information consuming society, right? Like I've got 30 seconds of my attention that I want all the information.
So I made one of the biggest marketing errors ever in that I answered that question with my own bias instead of thinking of our consumers. And I hate short-form videos. I don't watch them. I'm not interested. I'm definitely a reader, and I'm definitely interested in stories. So sorry, I answered that with my bias. If you're trying to target me, don't send me videos. It's not going to work.
And I love videos. I'm always busy. So give information quickly. And I'll
Oh,
decide if I want it or not. If I want to know more, then I look into it. If not, I'll move on.
I think you're also into videos, right, Alex?
I'm short form video person. Yeah, I have such a short attention span. It's unbelievable. I watch a video and if it's any more than a minute, I'm like, oh God, this is a bit too much of my life. Yeah.
So when we were doing infomercials, we also got, and even just normal commercials, right? We were tracking at which point people dropped off. I suppose with short form, you can't actually track that, right? It's too quick. Or can you still see?
I mean, you can in the fact if someone moves on after 1 or 2 seconds, then you can say that's not working. Then it's more like I think you say if someone's watching it for more than 50% of the duration, you can say they've watched it. You can say because if they dropped off at 50%, they watched it, but they're not interested in it. So it's not necessarily they don't want to watch something that's a minute long. It's because I think after 50% of the duration they've left, it's like at the bounce rate, you know. They've been on the website, they've been on there for a few seconds, and like, nah, I'm off. So you
Yeah.
still have measurements in place.
Okay. And then I'm thinking about our podcast. I watch those metrics because it's fascinating to me that anyone's listening to us. But yeah, we can see people downloaded our latest episode. We can see how many people have listened to all of them. We can see there's a lot of metrics, right? And you can optimize for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, podcasts are a huge business though, still. I mean, it obviously had its huge boom in COVID, but they're still going strong from a monetization point of view. There's a huge amount of money available and being made on these shows because they're hugely popular. They've actually become almost like chat shows because a lot of them are coming to video and a lot of them are just people are just watching them on as a video as opposed to just the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some stats. I saw a stat on a podcast this morning, which was 80% of podcasts apparently never go past episode 10. So score us.
Wow.
Congrats.
That's actually true, you know, because I found some podcasts that I've really liked and then I run out of episodes. Where are they? Why have they stopped?
So we're doing well. We're doing well with our podcast. Right, Leonie, to wrap up, any last tips you want to give our audience on measurement and metrics?
Have your checklist of everything to do, what you're trying to achieve, your KPIs, and to be realistic. And be honest as well, and make sure you've got the right tools in place. And if not, see how you can improvise and just realize and just be realistic about the results if you don't have the right tools. But it's all about measurements, you know, measure all the way from live, monitor, optimize, and then hopefully celebrate a good big fat ROI.
Perfect. Alex, anything you want to wrap up with?
Well, I'm just because you guys are so pessimistic about how many people have tools in place in their business, I'm going to say get some tools in place. Make sure you have the right analytics, and don't and don't rely on your bias, because we all have bias and say, I like this image, so I think it's going to work. No. Let's use the data that you have from the tools that you have in your business to understand what kind of imagery works. If we're talking about imagery, messaging, or whatever it is, platform, use the data to not
Steer
only
you.
to steer you. Don't use your own bias.
Yeah, and I did fall prey to that bias, so naughty me. Right. And for me, I'm just going to put on the table the opposite, because sometimes, and I have worked in places where they ask for lots of data. I think Alex, you know, and I've had this experience where the tracking is horrendous and only 10% of those numbers are used. So just also make sure you're tracking stuff that's actually going to be used, because you can waste an awful lot of time putting a lot of data together, which no one's looking at, no one's going to use. So do keep a balance, because tracking can lead you down a minefield and you can get a little bit lost in the numbers. But if it's not telling you anything useful, then why bother? Awesome. Well, Leonie, great to have you on board. Alex, it's been fun as always.
Brilliant.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.